You can start.
Hello and welcome to the podcast. I'm John.
And I'm Lizzie.
And this is Harry Potter and the Second Time Reader. And we are on chapter 9, 10, 11, and 12. We might break these up after because these might be long ones. There's a lot that happens in these. Mm-hmm. But give me a quick summary of chapter 9, The Woes of Mrs. Weasley.
Well, we've entered the Lizzie ran out of summaries territory. But
want me to give a summary?
Sure.
So essentially, I mean, there's a bunch of random stuff that happens, but Harry gets out of the trial. They all celebrate because everything's okay. They find out there's a new Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher, or they're trying to figure out who the next Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher. They get their letters, which is when they try to theorize about the Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher. And then what happens is they find out Ron and Hermione are prefects, and Harry isn't, which is devastating for Harry, but great for Ron. They encounter a boggart in the end of this chapter as well, which is another interesting little thing we'll talk about. And then before they're about to leave, Moody gives them a picture of the original order as well. And they talk about a bunch of different people in that picture. That's pretty much all. What is pressing? What do you want to talk about in this chapter? I have a lot of points, but...
Yeah, I have a lot of notes too. First, like, Ron and Hermione being made prefects is really crazy. I don't think I understood that you just got selected for that. I thought that was like a earned based on your GPA type of thing, or like your conduct, your grades.
I guess it kind of is.
But it seems like everyone's surprised that Ron got picked for it.
Why did Ron get picked over Harry? Well,
this is my theory since reading, I guess, chapter 11 and 12, is that Dumbledore did Ron and Hermione as prefects to make them, like, to protect Harry a little bit.
All right.
And, like, keep him in line, I guess. Because they're, like, the whole school is kind of against Harry when he comes back.
Yes.
So if he has two prefect best friends who can, like, punish anyone who's, like, going against him, I feel like he chose them for that reason, which I think comes into play later.
Well, why wouldn't he just use Harry so Harry can punish anybody who
That's such a bad idea.
Yeah,
like, Harry would just do that without being a prefect.
Yeah.
And Harry's ego is, like, crazy when he gets back to school. He's like, everybody's thinking about me all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's good for Ron. Like, he needed that. Hermione, I feel like, expected it.
Yeah.
But she had a cool line where she was like, my mom and dad will, like, understand this. This is something they can get.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's good.
That's cute. I know.
Because she's such an accomplished wizard, but then, yeah, maybe, like, her parents don't understand that she's actually...
how good she is at what she's doing, Because they don't have anything to compare her to. Like, the Weasleys see Hermione and they're like, sheesh. Compared to, like, Ron, she's doing great stuff. Yeah. And then, they don't quite understand, so it's kind of cute that she says that.
And Harry has this whole internal conflict about the prefect thing too, which I really hate.
Why? Why do you hate that?
It's just like, get over it, Harry. Like, get over yourself. Nobody cares. You don't deserve it. You're not good in school. Like, he's just...
out of the 5 Gryffindors in his year, who is more deserving of him?
Whoever has the best grades, and it's definitely not Harry.
Definitely not Seamus. Definitely not Dean. Neville, probably not. And it's Ron. He's not going against the steepest competition here.
That's so true. The bar is low.
Yeah, the bar is very
low.
Is
on the floor. Yeah, I mean, in that case, I would still maybe say, like, Neville or Ron, though.
Yeah.
Probably Ron. I would pick.
And Harry just has to get over himself.
Harry's literally Harry Potter. The whole world knows who he is. He doesn't need to be prefect. But yeah, like, that was so annoying to me when he's like, Ron's getting something I'm not. And he was like wishing bad things on Ron. It's like,
Yeah.
dude, you are messed up.
I know, that is a little screwed up. It's like he's your best friend. Like, be happy for him in that moment. Which he
Yeah.
kind of comes to grips with at the end. I think at the end of the chapter, he's like, okay, you know, this is okay. But he's still, I mean, he's not like fully at that point. He hasn't processed through that. So he's definitely holding on to a little bitterness there.
For sure. But I think Ron is going to be a good prefect because he's like a middle child. So
yeah.
he's had like the beating from your older siblings, but then he also is kind of like protective of Ginny. So I feel like he's a good like mixture of all of those things to be able to like keep people in line, but then like be there and help the first years. So I don't know. I think that's nice because Harry's an only child. He has like no social skills. Sorry, only children. But you guys are different.
Different breed.
Yeah, I don't know. I support Ron being a.
Yeah, I'm with you. I love this moment for Ron. I feel like it's a good moment that he actually realizes that it's like a jolt of confidence for him. Yep. And I love when his mom is like, "We're gonna get you a gift." His mom is very proud of him at this moment. Like there's a lot of beauty in that.
He got a broom.
That's great. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's like a huge part of this chapter. But I mean, one of the questions I should have asked, or could have, but you already know, is who's their defense against the dark arts teacher? And we know
Umbridge.
It's the worst. Yeah, Umbridge.
Yeah.
We'll talk about Umbridge in a bit, but there's also I'm rethinking about this. I really like that you're like Harry needs to get over himself, because one of the questions that I have was like, who do you associate more with, Ron in this moment or Harry in this moment? Like do you like feel like you haven't gotten something, you've been bitter over that more, or are you like, well, wow, this is like super surprising I got this, and you're like just grateful?
Every time I haven't gotten something like that in life, I've been relieved that I didn't get it.
Really?
And I have this moment of like, okay, that's good. Like,
yeah,
I tried my best to get like whatever achievement, but like it's good that I didn't, or like the position or like a job or something like that. I've always had like a moment of like, oh, okay, that's good that I don't have that. And I don't think that's normal for people, because I asked my friend that once and they were like, I've never experienced that in my life. And I was like, oh, maybe I just don't know myself enough to like know what I want. But I mean, Ron just takes it and really doesn't do anything about it. Like, he's excited to get a broom.
Yeah.
He's like excited that he got some recognition because he feels like he hasn't earned anything ever in his life. But he's not like even excited about it. Like, he puts it out on his bed and he's like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
But like, he's just being nice about it.
Yeah, for sure. That's actually interesting.
And I like that Harry, when he realizes that like his dad and like everybody else that he thinks is cool wasn't a prefect, he's like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, he's like, this is cool now. I'm all right with this.
But Lupin was a prefect.
Yeah, which I think is a great choice for a prefect. Out of all those guys, I feel like Lupin is definitely the clear choice for a prefect. I love Lupin. Lupin's one of my favorite characters too. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's so good. Okay, so there's another note in this chapter that there is a boggart up in the drawing room. And the boggart takes the shape of what your fear is in that moment. But Moody can actually see the form of a boggart. So what is the actual form of a boggart? Because he's looking up in this drawing room and he sees the boggart with his eye. If the boggart, like if you encounter the boggart, it transforms into your fear. So no one really knows what a boggart's form looks like. That's mentioned in the third book. But can Moody see the true form of a boggart, and what does a boggart look like?
You're
like, I don't care. I don't know.
I think they're like globular.
yeah, like little like blobs. They're just like chilling.
I almost what is it? I think it's in Moana. Those little like no, never mind. That's not what I picture them like. Just some kind of like trollish, like blobby, like arms and legs, just like blob body, slightly like brownish green.
Yeah.
Maybe slimy, that type of thing. I don't know.
A little slimy. That's kind of gross.
So I didn't even think about that. Moody actually sees the Bogart.
Yeah. And then I want to say, I don't know if it's in this chapter or the next. Hold on. I think it's in this chapter when she deals with the Bogart.
That's Mrs. Weasley. Yeah, chapter 9. The woes of Mrs. Weasley. That almost made me cry. I felt so bad for her.
It's devastating. And I love that too, because in the previous chapters, you get all this information about her keeping information from people. And then you get what her true fear is, that all these people are going to die. All these people that she loves are going to die. And it's like you are crushed in that moment for what she's experiencing.
And I didn't think of it from like a mom's point of view. Like everybody's doing their own thing for the Order of the Phoenix and like fighting evil. But then so is Mrs. Weasley. But on top of that, she's trying to hold like
everything together.
5, 6, 7 people together as like a family unit. But then also just like as independent people she loves. And even like I loved when like Lupin came in and just hugged her and she just broke down crying. I was like, oh.
I know.
And then that to me was like, I understood a little more of like the history they have and like the friendship that they have that has gotten through all of this stuff together. And she was like, don't tell Mr. Weasley. And then just like sobbed on Lupin. And I was like, oh, like Lupin is such a good man.
I know.
Good werewolf.
Know. I love those moments in my life too. Like that hasn't like happened often where like, you know, you've just been like beaten down to the point where you just like someone comes up and gives you a hug. That did happen with one of my friends once, and I'll tell the story till the day that I die because it was one of the loveliest things that ever happened. I was just having a rough day and I walked into my apartment complex, and a bunch of my friends were in this same complex, and they were just chilling in the foyer. They were about to go out to dinner, and I was just gonna walk up to my room and just like, you know, go do what I had to do. But I walk in and they're like, oh, hey, John. And then there's like a big crowd. And one of my friends, Christine, is in the back of the crowd. And she walks through the entire crowd, beelines to me, like complete like dead eye on me. She just bolts straight to me and just gives me like the hardest hug that I've ever felt, like squeezed me. And she just like, it wasn't one of those hugs like you're happy to see someone, you like hug them and you're like out. It was like she hugged me and then I was like, oh, she's not like letting go of this hug. And so like there was a moment like after like 4 or 5 seconds where you just kind of like accept it and you're like, and then like I didn't have a moment where I like broke down in that moment, but I remember going back up to my room and like having a moment where I had to sit on my bed and be like, oh man, that was like what I needed in that moment.
Yeah.
It was great. Christine, thank you so much for doing that. That was great.
Yeah. I'm a big like physical touch person as my love language. So that's like, that does it for me. Like if you tell me you love me, whatever, but like if you sit next to me and I'm just like sad or like telling you what's going on and like you just put your hand on my shoulder, I'm just like, yeah. Like that to me is like you understand me.
Yeah.
You feel me.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's powerful. That's some kind of magic.
I know. I love that Lupin does that so much because I feel like Lupin is one of the most. Oh man, I actually don't know about that. I was gonna say I think Lupin is one of the most emotionally intelligent people in this book. I feel like he is, but I think he has some immaturities to him as well. We'll work through those. What else did you have in this chapter?
That's basically it. I don't understand like why Harry was so concerned about helping the twins out with their thing.
Yeah.
Like I just thought that was kind of a distraction. Like she was trying to make it a big deal, but it's not going to be a big deal.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm like, why does Harry suddenly have morals that he's like concerned about?
Yep.
That's not really his on brand for him.
Yeah.
Like, oh, what? You suddenly care about other people?
Yeah.
You suddenly care about the consequences of your actions? That's new. Never done that before.
I feel like it's complex characters. Everyone has random moments that are out of character for them. And this is one of Ron's, or this is one of Harry's. What would you see if you saw a Boggart? If Boggart popped out of this room, in a closet?
I don't know. I feel like we talked about.
I think we did in the third book. I don't know. I don't remember what we said though.
I think I said like, oh, wait, no, because it's your worst fear. I think I said that at the time, if I was like a kid, it would have been like a tornado.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
But I don't know
So
now.
terrifying.
Just like a scary person.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's why you run with your pepper spray.
Yeah.
Scary person.
My knife.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like have a big fear that's coming to mind that
That's
something
good.
would materialize into.
That's good.
Death. Suffering.
The Grim Reaper suffering.
Yeah, like I don't fear
gosh.
death. I fear like the pain and the suffering that's gonna preface it. I just want to die peacefully, painlessly.
Yeah, it'd be great. A nice painless death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we said yours would be like a wedding ring.
What?
Which is a joke.
Did we really said that? I don't remember that.
Yeah, because you said like commitment.
I don't know. I remember saying that. Maybe you're just putting words in my mouth. Maybe. I think a little bit. Maybe I'm changing all of a sudden. I think there is like definitely some kind of fear of commitment. It might be a wedding band. I think there's a bunch of other things. I think there's a bunch of random little small fears for certain things that I have. I don't know exactly what it materialized into though. Like at this moment in my life, if a boggart just popped out, like it would probably be really similar to what Mrs. Weasley is dealing with right now. It'd be like people that I truly love passing away and dying.
Yeah. I agree with that, but that's not something that's on my mind like as a fear.
For sure.
So that's the only reason I'm like not saying something like that.
Yeah. This was weird too. Like, it's not something that's on my mind so much right now, but it was like a few years ago when I was like, I think I even probably mentioned this when we were talking about the boggarts the first time. But when I had cancer, that was like the only thing that was going on in my mind. It was like, it wasn't so much like I was losing. It was like I was losing my nieces and nephews, or like, but in the reverse, it was like, rather than thinking they were losing me, I was thinking I was losing them because I was going to die. And I was like, I would sleep and I would like cry myself to sleep because I was like, I want to like see my nieces and nephews and them get older and like go to their soccer and basketball games and like all that stuff. And it was like brutal having to realize that I might not encounter that or might not see that.
I'm going to cry.
Yeah, that was like my boggart.
So sad.
It was like there was literally a boggart in my room over there and I was terrified over not being able to see them grow up. And it was a rough time. But right now, that's not like the focus because I'm like with them all the time and I've survived, obviously. But I don't know what I would think of or what it would transform into right now. It's a tough one, being perceptive enough to actually know that.
Yeah.
So another point at the end of this chapter, Moody gives him this picture with all these people from the order. And Harry actually doesn't like it. Harry's like, why would you give me? At the end, he's like, it's a reminder of all these people that died almost because of him. Not really because of him, but Harry kind of thinks it's because of him. Do you think it was a good idea for Moody to give him this picture? Harry is just angsty and like pissed off half the time in this book. So like he doesn't know, but was it a good idea for him to give him this picture?
I think it is good for him to have the picture. I just think it's the wrong moment to do that. Because it just, it came at a time where he was like really just pissed in general.
Yeah.
And then like he just caught off guard by it, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Because who gave him photos of his parents? Was that Hagrid?
Hagrid, yeah.
And he did it nicely and was like, look, I think you would appreciate this.
Yeah, for sure.
And Mad Eye's just like, oh, this person died. That person dies. Here's your parents. And then he's just like, what? So, yeah, I mean, I think even in hindsight, Harry might appreciate knowing that, but it's just like not the right time to do that.
Yeah, there's a time and a place to do stuff like that. And this wasn't it. Or even just the manner you said that, the manner that Moody gave it to him and wasn't the best.
Yeah, because that, like, when someone dies that you love and then, like, randomly, like, the next week somebody's like, how are you feeling about this person? And then they just, like, even just, like, bringing up the name, it's like, you can't cope with that. You just, like, start crying. Or I start crying. But that seems like that to me. It's just like, whoa, like, I I didn't invite that conversation.
Yeah.
I'm not okay with that.
Yep. Yeah, it's got to be on. Yeah, it's a brutal one. Okay, let's go to chapter 10, which is Luna Lovegood. Unless you had anything else in this one.
I don't think so.
All right, Luna Lovegood. We finally meet Luna Lovegood, which is great. And this is where I give you the big spoiler that you can see Thestrals because you see people. You've seen death.
So you love Luna.
I do.
Why do you love Luna so much?
It is the same reason that most people love her, is because she is unapologetically herself. She doesn't feel the need to mold or measure personality. She might not have a lot of friends, but she's learned to be okay with that because she'd rather be true to herself than have to change who she is in order for other people to like her. I don't think it's necessarily a sign of full intelligence. I think there is a part of this is a very common theory about Luna, but in neurotypical people, I think you just change who you are in like subtle and not so subtle ways and subconscious ways, probably just to get not necessarily other people's approval, but just like make friends. I'm different around different groups of friends and different people that I interact with because that's just like very, I guess, neurotypical of me. I feel like that's very, very common. It's like not a sign of intelligence. There's a writer that I used to like, I don't love him anymore, David Foster Wallace, who wrote about that, where he's like, the ability to change from one interaction to the next is a sign of intelligence. I don't necessarily think that's true. I think that's just like very similar of what humans just do. Like I talk differently with my parents than I do with you, than I talk with Wes. I'm talking about baby voice to Wes all the time, throughout the day. Like then I do talk to my brothers. Like there's like the circles of trust that you have and how you interact with those people is different. Luna doesn't have that, and I think she's neurodivergent. I think she has some kind of autism, and I think that I love her so much because she is just like, this is me. This is what you get. And she's a character that I feel like you're like suspicious of. You're like, who the heck is this person? But you almost immediately trust. And she's someone that I aspire to be. Like, even when I know like people who have like Downs or some kind of autism, there's an aspect to it where they're just like, this is who they are. And like, you take it or leave it.
Yeah.
And I love that so much. And I love Luna for that reason. I think she's brilliant for that reason. Brilliantly written.
I think it's nice how Ginny reacts to her too, because
yes,
Harry is, and who's in the hallway with him? Neville? I think it's Neville and Harry.
Yeah.
In like the corridor, and they're not willing to go in with her, and they don't want to be by her. And then Ginny's like, "Oh, it's Luna. She's fine."
Yeah.
And Ginny just loves Luna for Luna too.
Yes.
And she's like giggling and laughing, and she's just like, "Luna's Luna," and like we're chilling with her.
Yeah. It says this chapter actually it's a great thing that you mentioned that. I think it says almost more about Ginny's growth than it does about this new character that's introduced. You meet this new character, but all these people are making fun of her, and then all of a sudden Ginny's just like,
yeah,
she's cool with it. That takes like, to me, this is such a Weasley trait. Like being confident in every situation. There's all these sorts of other people who are like nervous, and like Ron is like, he's like a weird Weasley. He's like, oh, what are people going to think about me when I wear these clothes to the Yule Ball? The twins are like, we're wearing junky clothes and we're going to make these things cool. I think Ginny's doing the same thing with Luna. Like all these other people are like, Luna's so weird. And she's like, nope, Luna's Luna and I'm friends with her. It's cool. I love that about Ginny.
Yeah.
She's great.
Well, Ginny's got the spunk.
Yeah.
And the just be herself, that trait too.
Yeah, I know. I love it.
Fun.
I know. She's great.
Yeah.
Fiery redhead. She's good. Do you not like Luna so much? Because you asked me that question in a very accusatory way.
What?
No, I was just kidding. You go, why do you like Luna? No.
No, I don't dislike Luna. I think she's a little odd.
Yeah.
But like the eye contact was throwing me off. But like there's no reason, I don't have anything against her. There's nothing that I'm just like, oh, that's like, I dislike her for that.
Yeah.
I feel like I just want to know more about her.
Yeah.
Like I don't have a fully formed opinion yet.
Yeah.
But she's funny.
Yeah, she's someone that we meet. We'll definitely interact with her later as more as the books go on. But she's probably still just a minor character, but she's definitely gotten major head time in people's minds because she's just such a unique character. Like she pops up in the story, and it's like 5 books into it. She pops up halfway into this entire series, and then she's just like, this is me. This is cool. This is who I am.
Yeah, I thought she was gonna be a transfer student or something, and I was like, where does she come from?
Why have we met her yet?
And then I realized that there's like hundreds of students that we haven't met yet at all.
Exactly.
But I don't know. I feel like I would react to her like how Ginny is, because I just like giggle at everything too.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's just funny.
Yeah.
Just hang out. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just be entertained by life.
I think you do have some Luna qualities to you. I think it's admirable. Yeah, there's like even funny things of her mentioning all the Quibbler articles that she's reading. Like, how far will Fudge go to gain Gringotts? Corruption in the Quidditch League. How the tornadoes are taking control. The secrets of ancient ruins revealed. Sirius Black, villain or victim. So they're even like pushing out some like very revelatory things in the Quibbler.
That's her dad's.
Yeah.
He's the editor,
Yep. Right? But there's a theory in there that Fudge has cooked goblins in pie. Do you think that's true? You think Cornelius Fudge is cooking goblins up? Is that why their wizard goblin relations are not good?
No. I do not think so. I feel like this is very pop culture-esque of like trying to dig up some dirt of like in 1971 like so and so did this thing, and they just try to like mess with them. I don't think so. I feel like Fudge has always been in the spotlight. I don't think he could do that. But yeah, like, what is the Quibbler? Because we were talking about Rita's genre of writing, but is the Quibbler? How do you feel about the Quibbler?
I like it because it's more journalistic endeavors that we see in this world, but it's not so journalistic. It's very.
It's like an independent magazine, right?
Yeah, which I think is necessary. I love that. I love that they're coming out with conspiracy theories about certain things. Even the again, it's like, even a blind squirrel finds a nut. They're publishing crazy stuff. You've never heard that thing before? Even a blind squirrel finds a nut?
No. What? That's so funny.
It's this idea that, okay, they're throwing out, it's like Danny's predictions are like the Quibbler to me. He throws out thousands of predictions about all sorts of random things. Every once in a while, he gets one right and he nails it. So in all these articles that they're writing like about corruption in the Quidditch League, how the tornadoes are taking control. They're talking about the secret of ancient ruins revealed. Like, none of that's really probably true. But then they're writing an article, Sirius Black, villain or victim. And the content of that article is ludicrous. They're talking about how he's a singer from like, Scandinavia or whatever they said. But
that's funny.
They're getting at some core truth that is not being reported by the Daily Prophet. I think you need some kind of competition. I don't think the Quibbler really is competition with the Daily Prophet, but you need some kind of like secondary news source so that if one goes astray, then you have the other, which is competing with it or like contrasting it. It's essential for a free press to survive in that way. You cannot have one press. That is called propaganda.
Facts. And Danny's a blind squirrel.
Yeah. Moral of the story: Danny is a blind squirrel.
That's so funny. I don't think like the Quibbler has any like merit, I guess.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't.
So
like
I don't feel like it's a
National
competing magazine or like a competing news source, because I just feel like they're totally off track.
Yeah.
Like all of it's just farce.
Yeah.
But, she's into it.
Yeah, she's into it. She likes it. She's reading this upside down.
Is she going to be really smart? Because she's like determining, like she's figuring out these runes.
She's in Ravenclaw.
Oh, yeah.
So she's generally wise. But you'll figure out if she's smart or not. I mean, she's smart in her own ways. Every character is smart in their own ways. Like Neville who's the dumbest character in the series, is the best herbology student that the school's had for a long time.
Love that.
Yeah, same.
Is this the Sorting Hat one or not?
Nope, that's the next one. Okay. So let's go on to the next one. or real quick before we go on to it, where's Hagrid?
I don't know. I'm a little concerned. I think he's just out with the Giants.
Okay. Trying to wrangle
once again,
Giants.
Marketing.
Yeah, marketing campaigns for the Giants.
Yeah, I think because that's what Hermione said. She was like, like he's doing his thing.
Yeah.
And that's what he was supposed to do.
Okay.
But like the Giants are very violent.
Yeah.
And Hagrid's very nice. And I'm just scared for Hagrid that he's like gonna get hurt or something.
Yeah.
I love Hagrid so much. I'm like, no,
yeah,
come
he can't
back.
get hurt.
So I just think he's doing that, and like hopefully nothing happened to him. Hopefully he's not stuck.
Okay. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Fingers are crossed.
The last point in this chapter that I want to talk about before is the spoiler that I gave, which are Thestrals. What did you think they were before I gave you this spoiler?
I don't know.
You don't remember?
I didn't get to any conclusion.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it for sure. Yeah, but now that you say that it's people who have seen death or experienced death, I'm trying to think who else would see them, because Neville's parents are alive, so he wouldn't see them.
Maybe.
Yeah, I guess true. Like random people can die, so like probably all the teachers can see them.
Yeah. So there is a point to it. Harry was in the room when his parents died. So people all the time ask this question: why wasn't Harry able to see the Thestrals earlier? And the answer for that is because you have to have seen death and processed through it. Harry wasn't able to process through that when he was 1 year old. So there's even this point where at the end of book 4, Harry goes back and it mentions that they go back on the horseless carriages, and Harry's not able to see Thestrals at that point, even though he's seen Cedric die before, because he wasn't able to process that. After the summer, when he is able to process through Cedric's death, then he can see Thestrals. So you don't know who Luna has seen and processed through their death. You don't really know that yet. And then you don't know who else can see Thestrals.
Cho could see one, probably.
Why?
Because Cedric was her boyfriend and he died.
But she didn't see Cedric die. You have to have seen it with
like
your 2 eyes.
The literal like process of the person dying. Because didn't people see dead Cedric?
Yeah, you saw a dead body.
But
that's
count.
not seeing death. There's a distinct difference between seeing death and between just seeing a dead body. I've seen dead bodies all over the place. That is really sketchy. And funerals and other things, like if you all go like an open casket funeral, you just see dead bodies.
I
like
hate
all my
open
grandparents.
caskets.
Yeah, that's a strange thing. But you see
Freaks
dead
me
bodies
out.
on this. But the idea of seeing death is just different.
Would you see a
I
Thestral?
wouldn't. I was close to it. I almost saw my grandpa pass away. I probably was 10 minutes away from seeing it, being in the room when he passed away, but I don't think I would. I was thinking about that before, and I was trying to look back in my life and see if I remembered anything like that, but nothing's sticking out to me, which is why I don't think I'd see it. I don't think I would process. Maybe I've seen it and I haven't processed through it. Would you?
Trauma blocked it. Yeah, when I was a kid, there was like a motorcycle crash a couple cars in front of us, and I saw the guy like slide across the road, and it was terrifying.
Oh my gosh.
I was like screaming and freaking out, and like it's like so blocked in my mind. Like I was reading a book, I looked up, I was in the center of the middle row of the minivan.
Oh my gosh.
Like between the passenger seats, and then I just saw like we slammed on the brakes, the car in front of us slammed on the brakes, blue car parts went like flying up, and then I just was like, I saw the motorcycle go, and there's like 2 cars in front of me. I just see this guy like just like slide, and like his like shirt got ripped off and everything. Like I was like his skin, like that's like the what I remember seeing, like not like black leather sliding across. It was like body sliding across the road. So then we were just like, I was probably like, I don't know, 6, 7, 8, 6, 7, something like that. It was just like the most terrifying thing ever. And we were just freaking out, and we were in like the middle of nowhere. We were on some like detour from the highway.
Oh my gosh.
And then because we were scared, like my mom was like, let's just walk. Like, let's just take a walk, guys. So my mom like took me and my sister just and started just like walking down the side of the road, like the other direction. And then I was like, I gotta pee because I was so nervous. So then we knocked on this random house and like this lady let us in and like I used her bathroom and it was like the creepiest, weirdest like house ever.
Ugh.
And it was like potted plants everywhere, but like empty pots.
Hey, I got potted plants everywhere.
No, but there was like 50 in the driveway, just like these little pots.
A little
So
intense.
yeah, and then later, like I'm pretty sure that he ended up dying.
Ugh.
It's like that was terrifying.
Yeah, that is pretty terrifying.
It's like the freakiest thing. And I have wanted a motorcycle, and I just think back to that because my dad always says to me, he's like, every time you talk to somebody who's on a motorcycle, they either know somebody who died or they got in an accident. And I'm like, okay, well, I already, for one, at like the ripe old age of like 6, have seen someone die on a motorcycle.
And you still want one.
Yeah. I don't know. I probably wouldn't anymore. I feel like I understand the scariness. And I don't think I have good enough judgment to be a good motorcycle driver.
That reminds me of when I was living in Dallas. I remember I was driving back to my apartment once, and I remember I saw this fire truck pulling straight at me. So I stopped my car middle of the road, and it pulls into the parking lot right next to me. And I remember looking over in the parking lot, and there's a guy laying there with a knife out of his chest, pool of blood surrounding him. There was an EMT that was getting out of the vehicle, and they were going to like assess him, and there was already one person just standing there just like looking like, oh my gosh, what's happening here? And I remember stopping right there, and like my jaw dropped, and then the one guy got out of the fire station and he was like, keep going. I was like, okay. I just pulled in.
You definitely saw death.
I don't think that's seeing it. And it's like I don't know the processing of that. There's interesting questions about that, but I digress. But I think the Thestrals are one of my favorite components onto this story, because I feel like people who have seen that kind of thing are they experience the world in a different way. And I love, and maybe not like everything in the world, but they experience small little things in the world. They experience relationships with people in a different way. If you've seen someone die and you've been able to process through that, like with your own eyes, like Mark, who's one of our good friends, who's the Green Season, season 3, he has seen death so much time in the hospital, and the stories that he has of it, and like how that's changed him. I think it's significant.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I think there's some like deep kind of magic to the idea of death and what it does to someone who's seen it, that you see the world in a different way. And I think the Thestrals are one of the greatest creations that she's had. We'll learn more about them as we go on, because there's more reasons why I truly, truly love them. I think they're fantastic creatures.
I was going to ask, is there any other explaining you can do without...
No, I'm not going to give any more spoilers. I mean, I gave away the greatest spoiler for them, but yeah, I don't want to say too much more.
No, it's okay.
Great. Let's go on to chapter 11, which is the Sorting Hat. Great chapter for this one too. Give me a quick summary of this one. Or did your summaries end? Your summaries ended.
My summaries ended.
The Sorting Hat sings a really weird song. Really weird song.
It's like a warning.
It is a warning. This is some of the lines. I'm not going to sing them for you.
You should. Now that you said that, that would never cross my mind until you said that.
Oh, God. Thus the houses and their founders retained friendship firm and true. So Hogwarts worked in harmony for several happy years. But then discord crept among us, feeding on our faults and fears. The houses that, like pillars 4, had once held up our school, now turned upon each other and divided sought to rule. And now the Sorting Hat is here, and you all know the score. I sort you into houses because that is what I'm for. But this year I'll go further. Listen closely to my song. Though condemned I am to split you, still I worry that it's wrong. Though I must fulfill my duty, and I must quarter every year, still I wonder whether sorting may not bring the end I fear. Oh, know the perils, read the signs, the warnings history shows, for our Hogwarts is in danger from external deadly foes. And we must unite inside her or we'll crumble from within. I have told you, I have warned you. Let the sorting now begin. What do you think about that?
It's kind of freaky.
Yeah, it's ominous.
It is. I found it so interesting that the Sorting Hat is conflicted that it has to do its job. Like, it almost has a being outside of itself just being the Sorting Hat. Because you'd think if the Sorting Hat was just like its own thing from birth, from spawn, whatever it came from, that it would have no qualms about doing what it's doing. It would just like be a machine. But it's definitely not a machine.
No, it's got some kind of free will to it.
Yeah. And it says crazy. External deadly foes, which I think is important, because then it's like petitioning for the unity inside Hogwarts, but it's also on top of that saying like we're fighting the outside people right now. Like it's not like we need to be unified inside because somebody already is like a foe. Like there's somebody who has already breached Hogwarts. It's
some
like
people were going to come in.
Yeah.
I like that.
Because I feel like if it didn't say external, they'd just be like Malfoys.
Yeah.
And like they're evil. We gotta like kick them out. Slytherin.
But like, you trust everyone inside right now.
Yeah.
I like that. That's great. That's a great catch. It's like a better. That's good writing on the Sorting Hat's part.
Yeah.
Unite together. You can trust each other. I feel like that's one of the core messages of this whole thing too. Like trust each other, unite, and then fight against these external evils. That's great.
Yep.
Nice, Lizzie. That's good. That's really good. Yeah, the idea of the hat is really interesting too. Because is the hat like the one true omniscient source here? Should everyone be trusting in what the hat says? Typically the hat's saying like weird, like, you know, boring songs. But I feel like the hat's the only thing that I can trust.
Really?
Like if this object is saying like warning the school of something, this is almost the only true objective source that you get. You encounter the Daily Prophet who's spewing all sorts of hate about Harry. You encounter the Quibbler who's spewing all sorts of ridiculous stuff, like talking about, you know, who knows what. And then you get the Sorting Hat, who all of a sudden is like, has no bias one way or the other, just sits on top of a bookshelf all day and just thinks about the song it's going to sing next. And it just looks at whatever's happening. I guess it processes through that. And it's like, this is really, these are the signs. So I feel like the Sorting Hat is like the only truly objective bit of information that we get.
You could just keep putting it on periodically and learning more.
Yeah, for sure.
Because even Harry like fell into that. Like he wanted more.
I know. It's good. It's really good. After this great speech, we get a terrible speech, which is Umbridge's speech. What do you think about that one?
It's propaganda.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Like brainwashing.
Yeah.
It's kind of freaky. Yeah, just the way she speaks is like, I'm your friend. Like, you can trust me. And just knowing she's sent from the Ministry is frightening. And I just know she turns out to be a really evil person.
Yeah.
So I just see that right from the jump. It's like, ugh, just icky.
She is the worst, yeah. She's so icky.
Hem, she continued. Hem. And the way she like demands people speak to her, it's disgusting.
It is.
Piss me off. I would hate that. Like, I do not like authority and following like the rules.
Me neither.
And like doing things like that. I would be so up against her from the beginning. I would be in detention like immediately.
Yes. And this even brings up the next chapter because this is Professor Umbridge's chapter. I cannot stand the way she demands authority rather than earns it.
Yes.
I am very much of the opinion that like I like did teaching and I didn't let anybody call me official titles. And I got in trouble for that from administration. And they were like, you need to have people call you either Mr. or Professor. And I was like, sure. And so I just kind of like lip service, but I'm like, I think someone should just call me John or Jonathan until not that it's like you have to earn this thing, but until like I really gain and earn your trust and respect, then maybe you can start calling me things like, Professor or Mr. or whatever it might be. But I'm like, you have to start as equals. I'm like such a proponent of that in teaching. You have to start as equals before there can be any sort of respect given or anything like that, rather than just respect is automatically given. There's obviously like a certain amount of respect that you do give to like teachers just off the bat because they're teachers and you want to respect all people. But there's also this idea that like, he's like, stop touching my tail. There's also, I'm with you, that I hate the authority that she just feels like she deserves.
Yeah.
Cannot stand it.
Entitled.
Yeah.
I like that you hold yourself to the same standard of people should earn your respect, but then you also give people the time to like respect you.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Good job. It all lines up.
Good. I got a little bit of balance there.
Stamp of approval.
Thank you, Lizzie. That's all I needed. That's the only reason I shared that story. Got your stamp of approval. We're good.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's one of my least favorites because of how she even just commands people to respond to her and respect her. I'm like, dude, you did nothing to really get that or deserve that or earn that, and you're just demanding that students automatically respect you. I'm like, there's obviously like most good teachers, like, they have enough respect for you even for just the first class that you're like, okay, I just generally respect this person. But Umbridge is like, no, I'm gonna be a jerk in the first class and you're still gonna respect me for it. Like, no, it doesn't work. How do you think? What do you think about the whole school really not backing Harry? Like Seamus doesn't believe Harry, and he's like almost opposed to Harry here.
Part of me thinks Harry's too in his own head, and that not all of this is real.
That's a great point.
Like his perception is warped. That every time he walks past people, he's like, "Oh, they're talking about me. They're thinking about me." I don't think it's all about you. Like the reality is that people don't spend much time thinking about other people. So that seems like his ego's a little taken over right there. But I honestly feel like the fight in the dormitory was kind of fine, like the way it worked out. And Ron was like, anybody else got any issues? Yeah. And then they kind of like said their piece, and that I feel like it kind of dissolved the situation, which made me think that that's why Dumbledore made Ron the prefect.
Yeah.
Because he's on Harry's side, but then like Harry is going around and like he's instigating things because he doesn't like, he reacts very heightened to everything.
Yeah.
So I feel like Ron is able to kind of dissolve the situations a little bit, but then also like I feel like I don't know what happens later, but almost from this point I feel like the dorm at least is kind of like back together again.
Yeah. Which
maybe is not true, but yeah, like don't insult the mom. Never do that. Yeah. Don't make it personal.
You leave moms out of it, dude. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's lots of testosterone and lots of emotions flying here. No one's really thinking in their right mind. They're all kind of like in their own little world. I think that's a really astute thing that you brought up, that Harry's kind of just like thinks the world is against him, so he sees that everywhere. I forgot what that's called exactly, but there's like a term for it. But he just feels it, so like everyone's against him. So no matter where he goes, he's like, oh, they're talking about me. Seamus is really opposed to me, and Seamus is, but he sees that with everyone.
Yeah, there's a line that I underlined. So this is when Harry's asking if Seamus's mom believes everything in the Daily Prophet. So Harry says, she thinks I'm a liar and Dumbledore's an old fool. Seamus looked up at him. Yeah, something like that. Harry said nothing. He threw his wand down on his bedside table, pulled off his robes, stuffed them angrily into his trunk, and pulled on his pajamas. He was sick of it, sick of being the person who was stared at and talked about all the time. If any of them knew, if any of them had the faintest idea what it felt like to be the one all these things had happened to, Mrs. Finnegan had no idea. The stupid woman, he thought savagely. Like, you're taking it
yeah.
beyond yourself to like, it's not just a your perception thing, but it's like you take it outside of yourself to insult other people.
Yes.
You must be such an idiot because you don't know like what I've gone through. And that to me is like a victim mentality.
Yeah. It's hard to get out of that. It's hard to break free of those things, but I don't like that attitude either. And yeah, I think that's a
and Neville's just like, we believe Harry.
Yeah. I feel like, yeah, man, that's a great point.
My grand's always said, you know who would come back one day. She says if Dumbledore says he's back, he's back. Harry felt a rush of gratitude toward Neville. Which gives me more questions about the grandma. Because why is she so sure of it? She's a wizard.
Yeah.
So she has had history with all this.
Mm-hmm.
There has to be more about her, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I want that so badly. Yeah,
she's an really interesting character. There's like small little things that come up about her, but she's you get more of her backstory. Yeah. Oh, man, I can't wait. We're gonna hit some good points in this book.
This is a great line too. Neville, who appeared to have nothing more to say either, was gazing fondly at his moonlit cactus.
Neville is so literally cute. The best person in the entire world. Oh, I love him so much.
And then right at the end of the chapter, he's like, Dumbledore and Harry, like, we're in this together. And he had like that moment where he actually felt like akin to Dumbledore, which was new.
Yeah. It was very cool.
Yeah. Which I think he had with Sirius too, because Sirius's life being pent up in Grimmauld Place, that's just like parallel to Harry.
Yeah, for sure.
But I don't know. I'm surprised that he felt that way about Dumbledore, where he was like, Dumbledore believes me, that's fine. Because he really didn't have like interaction with him after the trial to even justify that.
So he's like holding on to something that he feels like Dumbledore isn't really paying attention to him, but he's like still holding on to this relationship that he has with him, which is good of Harry. But I think it's such a good point that like he's like wanting more people to be on his side, but ultimately like he just needs to do what he needs to do. He needs to like not have this victim mentality and just like, okay, you know, I'm just gonna endure through this, persevere through this, whatever it might be. That's a great point. Good thing to learn.
He kind of made it through all of that already in Sorcerer's Stone when they thought he was killing everyone.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is not new.
Yeah, I know. He experienced this before. But I guess because in this moment he feels even more alone. In that one, in Sorcerers and Chambers, he had his friends by his side. In this one, he does have his friends by his side, but he feels like he can't trust his friends. I know what Harry's experiencing. I feel like I understand it. He doesn't feel like he can trust them because they haven't given him any information. They haven't really like been friends with him, going through the same things that he's going through. He felt like completely alone and isolated. It all stems back at little whinging, where he just feels completely alone and he's like in the dark for a few months. And then he comes back and his friends are trying to make things like they were before. And Harry's like, where the heck were you guys? And he's just compounding on that rather than clearing the air and rather than dealing with the situation in the moment and just getting everything out. He's like holding things back, which is not healthy. But I guess it feels slightly gratifying for him to do it, which is why he's, I guess, not openly forgiving people. But one thing that I see in the rest of this book is like Harry's inability to forgive people for some of their mistakes, I guess, is the thing that eats away at him. And it's the thing that I think turns his mood so quickly. It is 100% his feeling of aloneness and that he is completely alone. But he has his friends around him. We'll get to those chapters when we get to those chapters where Harry truly does feel alone and he feels like no one understands him. So we'll get there. But they're great chapters. I can't wait to discuss Harry's character throughout this book. It's a good one.
I see that even in the earlier chapter when he arrives at headquarters, though.
Yeah.
Because that anger lashing out, that was all like against things that had piled up previously. Like he wasn't speaking to Ron and Hermione in the moment. And I think because it was such an outburst, and then they kind of had a nice conversation after, like immediately, like it was like a weird shift. He like has all this pent up anger that he like wants to get a dig in. He's happy to see that like they've been hurt by Hedwig, like just like the evil grossness that anger becomes when you let it pile up.
Yes.
And he can't just he needs to learn how to let that go and actually like talk to people in the moment, because there's anger that you can be angry and you can work through it because you are present and like you're allowed to be angry at stuff, but like you need to be willing to move past it and progress.
Yes.
And I feel like even when he yells at Ron and Hermione for fighting so much, like I wasn't mad about that because that was like a problem that probably should be fixed, and like that's valid, even in light of Harry being a jerk. I like that's just because Harry's a jerk doesn't mean everyone can be a jerk.
Yes.
So I wasn't mad about that, and like even Ron came back to him and was like, all right, well then you stop being a jerk to me. Like that's like progressive.
Yes, 100%.
But like the anger that's just like building up and he can't let go of stuff, that's like because he's isolated or because he feels like he's missing out. And like he's not, if he had a better idea of like what Ron and Hermione were actually doing, like they don't know anything at headquarters. Like they're also stuck in the bedroom. Like why do you think you went up there with them? Because they were already there for weeks and weeks. Like,
but it's such a good commentary on how it makes you like irrational. Like it lets you, or it makes you forget the ability, like, or what other people are going through. Like, so Harry is really just focused on himself, and he has gratification in other people's like pain and suffering, and because they're dealing with some of the same things that he's going through. But like he really doesn't understand that they're in the same boat with him, and they explain that to him, but he doesn't see it because he's so angry at them. So angry makes him completely irrational in every sense in the beginning of this book, and it's like, how will he break out of this? And we'll see. We'll see if he does, if he even breaks out of this. Maybe he's angry in the next 4 or 3 books.
Probably. He's 15.
Yeah, for sure. And again, like we approach this as adults talking about Harry, but he is 15. I'm like giving 15-year-olds the benefit of the doubt. I was just like this when I was 15, angry for no reason.
I was such an angry teenager. So bad.
Yeah. The whole world's against you. My mom would constantly say, Jonathan, the whole world is not against you. Shut up. Yeah, it is.
That's funny.
Oh yeah. There's because you see his anger even in this next chapter, because you read up to 12, right?
Yeah, I read 12.
Because even in this next one, when you meet Umbridge and she's like terrible, Harry is just like snapping back at this person, and you're glad that he's snapping back at this person because you know that this person is terrible. But you're like, would he have done this were it just some random other professor? He doesn't do it with other professors because he trusts them. But it's like Harry's anger is materializing in his short fused temper with other teachers and professors. So.
Which I don't think is a bad thing, because he's being like an advocate for his cause in that class. Like he's able to kind of get it across that look how real Voldemort is to me. Yeah. It's legit, like getting it out. I think that takes a lot of courage to say what you want to say like that, especially in class or when you're facing detention. Yep. And he's willing to do that. So that's as big of a stance as he can take at this point. Like that's the highest stage that he can stand on, the biggest hill that he could die on. Yeah. Is like, look, I will get detention every night for a week just to tell you that Voldemort is real. And like everybody else in here, listen up. Yeah. Because like we're the generation that's gonna fight this. So I was proud of him for that.
Yeah, standing up for what he knows is true. I think this takes a lot of courage. I think he has a lot of courage, even if he has a lot of anger, he has a lot of courage in this book. Yeah. That's great. The last thing that I want to say, unless you have anything else in these chapters, but the last thing, McGonagall gives him this warning, and she says, well, said Professor McGonagall, rounding on him, is this true? Is what true? Harry asked, rather more aggressively than he had intended. Professor? Yeah. He added, in an attempt to sound more polite. Is it true that you shouted at Professor Umbridge? Yes, said Harry. You called her a liar? Yes. You told her he who must not be named is back? Yes. Professor McGonagall sat down behind her desk, watching Harry closely. Then she said, "Have a biscuit, Potter." I love that line so much. And then she gives Harry a warning in this chapter, or right after this. Like this warning that Harry needs to just be careful. What do you think about that?
I'm conflicted.
You're so anti-authoritarian. You're like, get it out now.
Yeah.
Just rebel.
I understand that keeping your head down, keeping quiet might be more beneficial in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
But in the moment, I hate that.
Yeah.
And to me, who always wants like everything honesty, everything truth, 100%,
Mm-hmm.
straight shooter, that irks me so much that like I'm putting myself in this, and like if I can't do that, like if I have to just suck it up and suffer, it'd be like, nah. Like I would probably just like kill her. Like I would go like
and
grab
Lizzie's
my
in
wand
Azkaban right now because she killed Umbridge.
And look, the world's a better place. Like I would definitely go crazy.
Dude, there's this one image. I forgot exactly what it's called. Let me try to look this up real quick. I don't know what it is. I can't find this. But it's these brothers, and one brother is in an orange suit. He was on trial, and he's looking at his brother across the stand, and he's just smiling at his brother in this like acknowledging way, like what we did is good. And what this guy did was he I think looked on like the child registry list or something like that. And he was going and he was like murdering these people who had raped children who were just out in public, and their trials were like ongoing, or their trials like weren't getting resolved. So he like took justice into his own hands. Mm-hmm. And there's like, this picture is chilling. I'll send it to you after. This story is like something like that. Like this guy just took justice into his own hands. And the picture is chilling because like these guys almost know what they did was right. But one of the guys, he's in prison for the rest of his life because of this. It's like,
yeah,
it's such an interesting ethical question of what does Harry do in this situation, and what does anyone do under like this authoritarian regime right now? Do you play in a subtle way, or do you openly rebel against this? And they're tough answers.
Yeah, it's like the strategy of war. It's like you can't just go guns blazing. Yeah. And just like if you actually did, like if I killed Umbridge on day one, that's not really gonna accomplish much.
Yeah.
But maybe if I wait for the order to like figure out what their plan is, then that will be good. But like I know Harry's gonna suffer so much under this girl.
Yeah.
That I just like, I don't know.
Okay, so this guy's, I had to find it. He's called the Alaskan Avenger. He has a 23-year sentence, and he said Jason would seek out and beat sex offenders with a hammer. He himself had been beaten and molested as a child. He told his victims he was an avenging angel for abused children. And this is the image. You probably can't see it too well, but this is his brother.
Zoom it in. Ooh.
He's like sitting there like smiling, knowing what he did was like, okay, it was right. Yeah. I mean, that's like you go to prison. It's like that's the unforgivable sin. You don't
He got life in prison?
No, I got 23 years.
Yeah, that's good.
That's a long time to be in prison, though.
Honestly, I think if you kill someone, you should be killed, low-key.
Whoa, capital punishment.
It's like
this is a whole different debate. Oh my god!
Isn't there like there's what's his name? Gandalf. Is Gandalf?
Dumbledore?
No, Gandalf.
Gandalf from Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, he has some line like that about Smeagol. They're like climbing the mountain. He's like, look, you can't, like, who are you to decide that?
Don't be so quick to deal out death and judgment.
And I totally hear you. But
yeah,
like in my mind, in my brutality, I don't mind that. But in like reality, I would never. Like I'm honestly kind of like a pacifist. Like,
everyone knows Lizzie is very much a pacifist.
Yeah, no murder is ever good. But yeah, like dude, some people are just jacked up and need to get punished for that.
Yeah, that's why like even within this chapter, Harry standing up and just openly rebelling. There's like again, we can't get into this fully because this is like later on, but there's moments where like people remember these moments that Harry had and they take courage from, and they're like, these moments give people hope. When you see things happening that are so bleak and you see this guy standing up to people, you're like, okay, this actually like gives me hope for what we can do now. So I think it's a good moment that Harry has. But again, I love McGonagall's words. He needs to exercise caution and wisdom with this. He can't just go in guns a-blazing. He has to have some kind of plan, some kind of like some kind of idea of what he's trying to get himself into here. So it's tough.
Yeah.
All right. Favorites. Who's your house cup, hot tamale, and favorite moment?
House cup, Harry. Is Tonks in this part? Can we give her hot tamale again?
You can give Luna. Ginny, give Ginny the hot tamale with being friends with
Luna. Ginny's the hot tamale. And favorite moment is you spoiling the
vegetables. I'm so devastated. I can't believe it. I'm glad that you know about that now. We can have good discussions about that as we learn more.
I really like McGonagall being like, have a biscuit.
Yeah.
She's like, no. Have it. Like that to me is like really funny.
That's probably my favorite moment. I love that moment. I think that's good. That's probably
because she like does it again. Like she has a second time where she's like, eat it.
Do this.
Yeah. She's funny.
Yeah, she's great. I think I'll probably give my hot tamale to Luna. And favorite character, I'll probably give it to Harry too. But there's a lot of angst that he has. So it's just like I relate to him. I understand what he's going through, but I'm like, you want him to grow in these chapters. Get some emotional intelligence here.
Yeah, he's a very flip-flop character throughout.
Which he's 15, so he can be, Yep. Let's give him that permission to.
Figuring out life.
Yeah, well, thanks for joining us on this journey of Harry Potter and the Second Time Reader.
See ya.
Bye.